pronunciation right. Is it Gritzmacher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Building.
Cool.
Now we have to watch our mouths.
So today, is this facility operating as a school?
It's been empty for like, since 2000 it's sit on there?
No, we rented it out to one school, a couple of rooms, but it's been empty for a while. We just use it for meeting rooms and library, and we have a chapel. But no, it's been on, yeah, we've been looking to lease it.
Anyone care if I close that little door?
Right. Yeah.
I wonder if it'll stop the little beeping noise, or at least muffle it.
Oh, you know what? That's one of the kiosks here.
Can I help you?
That's the machine that goes bing.
Unplug it,
Yeah.
make it easy.
Come here.
Hi, Dan.
Good evening.
Good to see you.
How's it going? All right. We all set? Set, yep. It is 6:01, so we'll call the meeting to order, and I will have to take a quick roll call. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Devine, here. Wayne Clark.
Yes.
Eric Torkelson. Here. Kathleen Dagenhart.
Here?
Jessica Katzenmeyer.
Here.
Brian Frank.
Here.
Brendan Reinke.
Here.
And Lisa Coons.
Excused.
Okay, got it. All right, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Then our next item will be approving our minutes from our meeting of August 28th.
Move to approve?
Second?
There's a motion, a second. Were there any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. And we're going to take our agenda slightly out of order if there's no objection, and we're going to start with item 3, was it?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor.
We'll begin with item 3.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a site landscaping architectural approval for the current building at 7113 West National Avenue. Currently on that first floor, it's a vacant commercial space. Second floor is residential. Has a little bit of history on this building. It was built in 1927 and formerly housed John Welson's Harness Shop, Dooley's Fur Shop, Gritzmacher Printing Company, and many more businesses in its history. I give this historical basis on this because the building is going to be restored on the first floor to historical features. Overall, the architecture emphasizes a 20th century commercial architecture, which was influenced by German Renaissance revival. Distinct features of the building include a step parapet with stone coping, stone insets, and brick detailing. The proposed facade alteration on the first floor shows a replacement of that boarded up storefront window, or creation of a storefront window now, new aluminum storefront windows and doors, limestone windowsills. Above the storefront is wood paneling with raised wood trim moldings. Below the storefront is brick matching existing brickwork. While not listed as a historical building, we do appreciate the historic attempt to renovate the building. With that being said, we have a recommendation to approve the site landscaping architectural design review for the facade at 7113 West National Avenue, just subject to a driveway permit being applied for any work in the right of way. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions, comments, motions?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and we have a second. I think this looks incredible.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Realistic.
So if there is no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, Jack. Thanks, Jack.
See ya.
Then we'll go back up to items 2A and 2B.
Thank you, Mayor. We are pleased to present a proposal for a Woodlands School at 1526 South 72nd Street. Already on the property, there is an existing two-story, 25,000 square foot building with a semi-finished lower level. That meaning that some of the wings have a have a lower level, they called it, but one of the wings does not, and that's an important distinction that I didn't make on the plans. Just wanted you all to know. In terms of the previous use of this building, it was occupied by Holy Assumption School from 1957 until 2000, and the Academy of Excellence from 2005 until 2015. Since 2015, from what we can tell, the property has remained vacant, though there have been some ancillary uses of the property by the school, potentially some local Boy Scout or Girl Scout troops, but definitely for some Sunday school lessons and the like. So some of the classrooms have been utilized by organizations affiliated with the church, but we haven't had like a very strong, solid school presence in there since 2015. So Woodland School is proposing to move to this location. It is a charter school currently occupying 2 campuses at Blue Mound Road and State Street, and they currently facilitate the education of about 500 students. The zoning of the property is considered RB, and within that zoning designation, a school is a conditional use. There are no real additional conditions aside from the public hearing. In terms of construction and their plans, they're looking to begin construction in the fall of 2024 or winter of 2025, and hopefully conclude in May of 2025 to open for the fall of 2025. They maintain typical school hours, so Monday through Friday from around 7:45 a.m. until about 3:15 p.m., with after-school services extending until about 6 p.m. Here I just show you a site overview of the proposed building, the adjacent notable streets, and kind of the context of the neighborhood. Here's just a building of one of the facades, or an image of one of the facades. And then in terms of the floor plan, we separated the floor plans out into each of the distinct wings. So there's a northern wing, a southern wing, and an eastern wing that's going to primarily occupy the gym and cafeteria levels. The first and second floor of the northern wing have 20 multi-age classrooms and rooms such as a music room, an art studio, science rooms, a library, a custodian workspace, and then 2 adjacent offices. In terms of the proposed renovations, they're looking into updating fixtures throughout this wing, as well as installing a new elevator lift on the northern wall of the northern wing, as well as an ADA accessibility ramp adjacent to the student entrance. And here is the location of the proposed lift station. It is the northernmost wall of the northern wing. And then the proposed ADA ramp location is going to be at the student entrance. When it comes to the southern wing of the building, there is a lower level that primarily is occupied by the boiler room and restrooms. The first floor is going to see K4, K5 classrooms and restrooms, with access granted to these classrooms toward an outer fenced-in play area. The second floor, we see a world language room, 10 staff offices, a conference room, a staff lounge, and restrooms. In terms of the renovations of this wing is going to house the most renovations associated with the site's interior. So we'll see the removal of all of these sink fixtures currently occupying the building. So primarily these rooms that are going to be turned into offices were used as like small dormitory style rooms for the rectory or nuns associated with the Holy Assumption Church. So we're going to see the removal of these fixtures and plumbing fixtures for the offices, updated ADA stalls, fixtures, and furnishes. Lastly, we look to the eastern wing. The lower level has the kitchen, cafeteria, and lunchroom. During the community engagement session that Woodlands held last night, it was discussed whether food would be made in the cafeteria kitchen or whether food is catered to the building. Food will be catered through a service that they described previously. The first floor will see a gym and a stage, with the second floor seeing another gymnasium, stage, the principal's office, as well as a conference room. Oh, and those are the proposed offices of the previous wing. For the renovations for this last wing, we're looking at just making things ADA compliant and updating those fixtures and furnishes. And that's just an image of the floor plan for the proposed gym. Or it exists already, but they're going to update. So next we look to their landscaping plan. And I kind of separated it into all of the different categories and things we need to ensure are in place for a school to operate. Looking at the landscaping and play areas, we don't have a formalized landscaping plan indicating plant species, existing or proposed, and we do recommend the applicant put those forth, but we do have a very detailed site plan, which is great. The northern end of the lot, we're going to see a large extensive parking area, play courts, and a fenced-in playground in the northwest corner. To the west, we see that K4, K5 play area, as well as another recess area fenced in. To the east, we see general lawns, and then to the south, we note that there is alleyway access with some asphalt concerns, as well as another staff parking lot. Within this category, we recommend the repair of asphalt and sidewalks, lawn reseeding as needed, and we ask that the applicants indicate landscaping efforts along the northern staff parking lot. In terms of signage and lighting, we see that they've indicated 2 new proposed signs facing 72nd Street and 1 towards 71st Street. During a site inspection visit, we noted that there are exterior lighting features already on the building, but some may be in need of repair in the 10 years it's been vacant. In terms of the refuse location and screening, they do have a proposed refuse location along the southern wing, but we do ask to see the method of screening. And then lastly, for fencing, there is already an existing decorative fence for some of the play areas, the K4, K5 play area, but we'd like to see some additional details about new fencing, as well as the removal of barbed wire fencing for an enclosure at the south end of the lot. So here we just have an image of some of the concerns that we were discussing through our site visit. So just in terms of accessibility, we want to make sure that all of the students, whether they walk, bike, or roll to school, are able to get in the building safely and adequately. Here, there's some needed update for the paving as well. Here is some existing trash enclosures, which I believe this is the same location that they are indicating on their plans. And then to the left, you're going to note that decorative stone wall. That is the current wall in place for the K4, K5 area. And it's very nice. And lastly, this is a picture just indicating that barbed wire fence enclosure that we would like to see updated appropriately and become a little more school friendly, remove the barbed wire potentially. To continue the landscaping plan, we note the following about parking and alleyway considerations. So overall, they are indicating 57 proposed parking stalls, with 32 in the northern lot and 25 in the southern lot. Staff recommend additional landscaping measures for that northern lot, indicated here. It really is just a large expanse of asphalt, and we would like to see that broken up in some way. We note toward the southern lot, there is some landscaping measures that are very interesting and unique. Potentially these could be employed toward the northern lot. There may be reasons against that, but we thought it was really interesting and a potential area that they could incorporate within the northern lots. The southern lot, we note, may not be able to accommodate all 25 parking stalls due to 2 of the stalls located in the public right-of-way. So as you can see in this image here, that public right-of-way is extending from the right down toward the center, and that's going to influence their traffic circulation, as well as some of their parking spots. 2 of the spots are technically located in the public right-of-way as of right now, but if they were to remove those spots, they could be fine. They also indicate the proposal for a loading zone for students along that 72nd Street student entrance. And in terms of bike racks, none are proposed right now, but we do ask that they provide bicycle parking to the tune of 1 spot per classroom, per our zoning ordinances. For the architectural plan, no architectural elevations were submitted, but they don't necessarily need to be unless there are proposed exterior changes to the building, in which there are. So we do note on this plan that there is a new proposed elevator lift that will be added on to the north wing's walls. So we would just really like to see that northern elevation as updated with that new construction there. And then lastly, we note on the facade, there are of course some broken and boarded up windows. These things happen over time, as well as items such as window trim and slight disrepair, and then wear along the roofline coping. We just ask that the applicant go forth and in good faith replace these measures, as I'm sure they've already intended to do so, but just outline some of these updates and improvements. And here you can see the coping slightly worn, but not unmanageable. So, going to our recommendations, overall, we approve the site landscaping and we ask that you approve of the site landscaping and architectural plan, as well as the conditional use permit for Woodland Schools. Just to highlight some of the features that we ask for, we are asking for a detailed landscaping plan to indicate existing and proposed landscaping features of the site, including a species list. We ask that they provide additional landscaping measures along the northern parking lot in whichever way that staff and the applicants can agree upon moving forward. We ask that they indicate landscaping measures we ask that they propose a screening method for their four-sided refuse enclosure, as well as an updated plan demonstrating alterations to the southern wing lot in consideration of the public alley right-of-way. We also ask that they provide bicycle parking at a rate of 1 stall per classroom. We ask that they indicate the replacement and repair of any broken windows, disrepaired window trim, and roofline coping. And lastly, we ask for additional details on that architectural elevation of the northern wing of the building in consideration of the elevator lifts. We also ask for them to apply for that loading zone designation, as well as the submission of signage plans, fencing plans, and photometric lighting plans to be reviewed for compliance and permitting. At this time, I'm able to answer any of your folks' questions, if you have any.
If I may,
Yes.
maybe
Go
we
ahead,
have
Steve.
the representative of Woodlands here, Vicki Brown-Gurley and team. So I just wanted to introduce her. And
Oh,
feel
yeah,
free,
come
feel
up.
free to come on up, please.
Sure, if you want.
Excuse me.
We've got Eric and then Jessica.
For item 4 with the fencing, is there like a minimum height requirement for like the play areas, or is it, can it be any height? Like,
It may be designated potentially by the state in terms of like planning and zoning for West Dallas. We don't indicate that specifically for play areas. We have height maximums, of course.
I think the idea is just to prevent balls from rolling out and children following that, whatever's rolling out into the street.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
having a problem. So the height of it, I don't think we're not advocating for something that's, 8 feet,
correct.
10 feet, 12 feet tall, like backstops or anything like that. I think the games that are playing there are, I think there's like a half court or quarter court basketball court and then play surface, but something that's reasonable on that corner, in a combination perhaps with the landscaping that Emily was talking about, a decorative style fence. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question and a bit of a safety concern too I want to bring up with this. Is the student entrance, is that on the 72nd Street side there, which would be, I think, the west side of the building? Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, so I live like a block north there on the 72nd and Greenfield, and that intersection of 72nd and Orchard is where I am bringing up a safety concern, is because there's only a stop sign on 72nd Street and not on Orchard. And I know that traffic tends to fly through there sometimes, especially when people use that street as a route around downtown. I'm wondering if the city would be willing to consider putting a four-way stop sign there, especially to consider the safety of the students coming in and out of that side of the building.
Correct me, Steve, if I'm wrong. I believe we are in that discussion that may be reviewed in consideration of the loading zone in the front. I think that's when we're going to cue discussions of a four-way stop on the corner of Orchard and 72nd. That is the case, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think there was a plan or something that I've seen in the package that was indicating that exactly just that, to prevent, the uncontrolled vehicles from running through there too fast.
Because
Slow
I know
things
like
down.
on Orchard, there's a stop sign on 73rd and 71st, but not 72nd.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed like sometimes even just walking in the area, cars just kind of tend to fly through there. So
Right.
that's just a safety concern of mine. But other than that, I think everything looks pretty good.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's absolutely a valid concern, and I'm glad that we've begun discussing that already.
Okay. Anybody else? Wayne?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Is this a private school, or will it be part of the West Dallas, West Milwaukee school system?
So, to put things broadly, it is a charter school. So it's chartered through UW Milwaukee, but If you would like to provide any more
Vicky
additional
knows best.
details. She really does. She's fantastic.
Good evening. Thank you for your question. We are a public school and we are a charter school. So we follow all of the guidelines from the Department of Public Instruction. And so we are not affiliated with a school district. Our authorizer is UWM, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And so they give us the authorization to operate as a school.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Brian.
And it just seems like there's some plans missing. And I think we've gone through this before, like with other companies, if I'm correct, that if we didn't have enough plans, we wouldn't really go through it. We'd wait for better plans to come through. So that's what I'm bringing up. It just seems like not a lot to really show what they're actually going to be doing.
If I may ask, what plans are you curious about?
Like the landscaping plans, just like no formal plan, detailed site plan. I got nothing wrong with the school or anything like that. It's just, is there a way we can get better plans? Is that something that's a requirement, or
That is,
am I?
That's part of the recommendation, to get a revised set of plans to show a little bit more detail on fencing, landscaping proposals. For the most part, what you see there in green on that site plan is already green. I mean, the lawn areas along 72nd Street, the lawn areas along 71st Street. The corner where the playground area is shown on that northwest corner at 72nd and Orchard, where the playground and the basketball hoop, the Foursquare and all that, that's just purely just asphalt pavement. So they are proposing to make some improvements with new play surfaces and some landscaping in that corner and the fencing, of course. So while things are not drastically changing on the outside of the building, there's definitely going to be a noticeable improvement. And we'll get those details as part of our recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, go ahead, Wayne.
Thanks again. Where do you expect to draw most of your students from? West Allis?
Again, that's a great question. Woodlands has been around for many years, almost 80. And, we tend to draw our students from a number of different areas, from anywhere in Wisconsin that parents want to drive. We're all parent transport. We have no buses, so parents who choose to have their children at Woodland School also agree to transport. So we have seats, we will have seats for West Allis residents. We'd be happy to have them, but we do expect a lot of our families that are at our current sites to join us at our new site.
And what do you anticipate the enrollment to be?
We are expecting a maximum of 500, about 500 students.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Does anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion, we have a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I'll have to abstain.
Okay.
As
We
do
have-
I.
Please record. 2 abstentions, chair votes aye. So that's a
Yes.
5-0 to 2, motion carries.
Yep. Yep, yep.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Mayor?
Yeah.
I don't know that we have anyone else here well, this is a city-led project, so if we could skip this and we'll get Nick out of here for 9422 National Avenue.
I think he wants to stay.
Oh, it does?
No.
Well, you're welcome to stay. Nick, you're always welcome, so yeah.
So that's number 7?
Number 7, I believe, yeah, the last
Okay.
one, yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll take up item 7 if there's no objection. Okay.
Thanks, Mayor. Nick Fuchs is here, representing the property owners of One Source Enterprises. The use here is Heartbreakers. They had previously removed and demoed a building at 9422 National Avenue, and that's right here, just east of Heartbreakers. There have been a number of different plans. The last one that we approved was in June, and the big difference here is that, just given some engineering, and as the new engineering team has looked at this site and the previous plans, the big concern here was this cross-access between the upper parking lot and the proposed lower parking lot. There's quite a grade difference, about 4 to 5 feet here. And with that grade difference, while this isn't impossible to do, it's not feasible to expect that there's going to be parking in this kind of configuration. There's quite a bit of grade that would have to be removed from this upper west side here in order to accommodate the slope down to the lower part. So getting a little bit more realistic, and just this blue line here was the retaining wall. What was proposed here was to add a bunch of fill, and then most of the fill will be back here, and then it would taper down to National Avenue. So there were a lot of, as the engineers looked at this, there were a lot of concerns with this plan, and for that reason, they've scrapped this idea and come back to us this month for approval of a new plan, which, let's get to that here. This is the latest plan, and the big difference here is the location of the retaining walls. Instead of that retaining wall being on the far east side of the site and adding all that fill, and instead of having this cross-access, what's proposed here is to maintain, actually to build a new retaining wall to create that grade separation and fortify that grade separation here in between the two parking lots, and then also another retaining wall on the very north end of the site alongside the residential property to the north here. So that's the big change. No cross access between the two sites, a retaining wall running midway through the property, and then along the north property line. New fencing being added on top of here to create a visual separation so you don't fall off the retaining wall, as well as wheel stops here to prevent cars from pulling too far forward and going over the cliff. And then certainly here along the residential north side, to retain the soil in this area here and prevent soil erosion and loss of grade to the properties to the north. And then everything on the east side of the property, you'd have, again, wheel stops here, as well as a new fence running along the north and east side of the property. New landscaping areas would be proposed as they were in the previous plans. Another change here is that the exit to the site, it's going to be right turn in, right turn out. And just a closer view of that, you can kind of see they've added a little poured curb pork chop or island here, just to sort of help funnel and the flow of cars coming into the site, westbound off of National, and then heading westbound out of the site onto National upon leaving. There's also another entry-exit way on 95th Street that will remain. That will service the upper parking lot, which is over here, and this will be completely part of the same property, but a separate lower parking lot, grade separated. There will be a new, as in the previous proposals, landscaping along the frontage of National Avenue, and then behind that landscaping will be a decorative style of fence featuring masonry with a decorative metal pier and brick wrought iron style fence. And there's just sort of a view of the rear of the site. And the one point, the refuse area was previously up here. It's currently back here in this location. The refuse area will remain screened from view within a picket-style fence behind the building where it currently sits, away from the residential to the north. And that's just a view of the retaining wall that would be added along this midsection of the site, as well as the north section of the site here. And this is a style of fence that would be on top of the new retaining wall areas, as well as along the east side of the property. In terms of architecture, with that building demolition occurring some months ago, it's left behind, the remnant shadow of the old building, and certainly they didn't finish back when this building was built. They didn't finish it, with this style of brick they have here. That'll be this area here will be cleaned up and refaced with new brick veneer to best complement or match the void spaces that you see here, to sort of make that look a lot better than it does now. So we're recommending approval, subject to the condition in your staff report. And it's just subject to, I guess, in terms of the brick veneer, just trying to get the actual type, specification, color, or a range of what they're considering, just for our review. And then secondly, just to better define some of the new fence line locations on the site plan along, especially on the east property line. We'd like the endpoint of that wood fence on the east side of the property to be set back a bit, just to prevent vision obstructions as one's pulling out of the driveway onto National Avenue. And then the third part, just providing some corrections on details within the actual plans. There's some numbers that should be 4s or 5s or just shown differently, just to reference to the site plan. So it's relatively minor conditions of approval here, and then an exterior lighting plan. And then, of course, just a standard, a street excavation permit for any work that happens within the right-of-way, and that can be coordinated through our engineering department. So that's all we have, and if there's any questions, we've also got Nick here to help answer anything. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Go ahead, Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, does engineering support this plan? And more importantly, or just as importantly, do you support it?
Yes, and as do the elder persons of the district. Yep.
Okay. I move approval.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you later.
And we'll back up to our page 1 and item 4.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Jump around.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Oh,
Right before.
okay.
Yeah, 12
Oh,
reports.
that's right, I covered up the...
I know, I was confused.
Yeah.
at first, too.
All right. This is the former Czar's Bar at 69th and Beloit Road. It's a commercial property, zone C2. It's been empty and out of business for well over, probably close to 10 years. The city CDA has acquired it from Milwaukee County and has been authorized to remove it, demolish it. We're just bringing it to your attention this evening to the Planning Commission that this is you'll start to see this building come down as of Friday this week. We've got a contractor who's going to be taking it out, clearing the site, removing all the debris, getting the ground ready for a new house that we're going to build with HUD Home Funds.
Nice.
It's a federal fund, and it'll be available then, and the house will be built. Before it gets built, we'll bring the design to you for review and comment, but it'll be very much like, we think, the house that was built on 93rd and National in that area. It's on the south side of the street, about 9335 National Avenue. It's got a red door on it if you're passing by, but it looks pretty good. So something very similar to that with a garage. And it'll be sold to a family, a low to moderate family or a veteran to qualify with the federal guidelines. It's really all I have, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain that.
Is this an action item? Or an info?
It wouldn't hurt. I mean, if you want to, it's going to happen, but I mean, if you want to.
Stop it before
Second.
Yeah, good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ayes have it. Then we'll move on to item 5, the ordinance amendments.
Thank you, Mayor. We'd like to make some changes to our zoning ordinance with respect to automotive uses. And just first, just sort of an overview of what's a permitted use, what's a limited use, and what's a conditional use. Permitted uses are uses that are allowed by right. You know, there's no conditions attached. You can, if it's permitted, you apply for your business occupancy permit, and if you're not making any alterations, you won't see them here at Planning Commission. It's just, you get into business after the necessary code enforcement and building permit inspections. Limited use is also a permitted use, but with some criteria attached. For instance, maybe a separation clause, or it can't abut residential, something along that line. Conditional use is sort of similar to limited use. It's, I guess, allowed, but it's also usually attached with some criteria. Allowed, but with this, this, and this, and then it has to go through a process of a public hearing process before Common Council, which is a sort of another hoop you have to jump through, and then the Common Council can take a look at, you know, the standard criteria within the zoning ordinance, but they can also, with, you know, if there's rationale or basis to do so, they can also add additional conditions. So there's there's the difference. And so the conditional use being the, I guess, if you want to call it the most stringent, so from easiest to maybe getting a little bit more difficult as you move down the list. So what we want to talk about are the automotive-related uses, and this is from the principal use table of our zoning ordinance. All of the general automotive uses that we have in the code are listed here in this table. And you can see the P is permitted use, L is limited use, C is conditional use. The zoning districts are listed across the top. So you can see all of our automotive uses, there's nothing, you can't put a auto repair shop or a fuel station or a sales car dealership in any of the residential districts or our downtown districts, not allowed. And then things start to happen in the C2 district where you can have fuel sales, gas station in the C2 district, and you can have a light motor vehicle service starting to, like a repair shop in the C2 district. And those conditional uses here then are tied to, like with fuel sales, the conditional use, we have a conditional use, but there's no condition in our existing conditional use criteria. And then with light motor vehicle, yeah, we have, so in other words, a gas station would have to come before Planning Commission and Common Council like it did over on 84th and Greenfield. But there's no criteria for, specific zoning criteria for a gas station saying that it has to be separated from residential or a residential district. So it's literally, it comes to the Common Council, and the Common Council can impose criteria that it sees fit on the gas station, as did the Planning Commission. You reviewed the site landscaping architecture of the one on 84th and Greenfield, and you evaluated the access to it and the surrounding uses. But there's no specific set of criteria in our zoning code. And that was, I think it was a conscious decision back in '22 when we did our zoning ordinance. There was a decision made by the council at that time when we were approving the zoning ordinance that if it's abutting a residential district or a residential use, it's okay to have a gas station. So we didn't impose any of these other unique things that we have, like we do for car wash service. For a car wash, there's this condition that you can have a car wash in the Highway 100 C4 district, but in that area, if you're going to locate a car wash, it has to be separated. It can't abut a residential zoning district. So we did that for car washes, but we didn't do it for gas stations. It was just the thought at the time when we approved it. So what we're proposing are some changes, not just to fuel stations and stuff, but there's certain uses up here that we want to talk about. The car wash, the gas stations, the heavy auto repair, the light auto repair. These are the 4 categories of use that we want to talk about updating, these conditions right here. So again, those were the existing. These are the proposed changes that we'd like to make. Basically, changing the verbiage over here under the criteria. Right now it says you can't have a car wash, you can't have an auto repair shop when it's abutting a residential zoning district. We want to take it a step further and say that it can't abut a residential zoning district or a residential use. So in other words, if you have a residential house that happens to be zoned commercial, you can't locate a gas station there, you can't locate a car auto repair shop there, and so on. And we would be adding fuel sales to the category, the use criteria here, as well as heavy motor vehicle services as well, with this language basically, that no conditional use permit may be issued when adjacent to a lot with a residential use or a residential zoning district. Here's kind of the case in point. This is a lot here at 85th, between 85th and 86th and Greenfield Avenue. This lighter red color here is C2 commercial, and let's just say a gas station wanted to locate on this lot here. I think it's a former Dunkin' Donut, and now it's a hamburger joint. Let's say a gas station wanted to locate there. The idea being that a gas station right now could locate there. Certainly it would go through a process of determining if that's appropriate or not, but I guess we want to try to avoid a gas station going here when it's immediately right next to a house next door. If this were more of a squared off lot, and a gas station wanted to go here, it wouldn't be able to because you've got a residential zoning district just south. So you can kind of see in these sort of unique situations where you have a commercial house or a commercial zoned district with a house on it next to a commercially operated business, you can see where the situation could occur. Just a closer view of that. So this is the house and that's the commercial. So that's the gist of that ordinance. And with any of these conditional uses, there's always a site landscaping architectural review. We evaluate what changes, if any. We talk about access to the site. We talk about refuse enclosures and screening and where the door openings are. And we just want to ensure that the site can accommodate all these features. The thing that the council also doesn't want happening is, when we approve an automotive use, and then they're in business, they say they're going to have a set of parking stalls here here's where our repair vehicles are going to go, and here's where our employees are going to park, and the customers are going to park here, and then we're going to stage finished cars over here. You come back a month later after they're in business, and the entire site and the grass area over here is just loaded with cars. So that's an enforcement issue at that point, and it's sort of a revisit with the business to find out why that's happening when they told us earlier that it was going to look like more organized like this. So that becomes definitely much more of an enforcement issue. So we are recommending approval. It will require a common council public hearing to change the ordinance. And we'll be working with our attorney's office and Emily here and I to update the zoning ordinance with this as our leading concept. So if there's any questions or discussion, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Jessica and then Wayne.
But really, it's the difference between light and heavy motor vehicle service.
It's going to be the size, likely the size of the vehicle, commercial, and if commercial nature, if you're dealing with heavy, like repairing semis, heavy trucks, dump trucks, big equipment, that is allowed as a conditional use, but in a more intensive zoning district like our industrial zoning districts, and not allowed in the commercial zoning districts. Mm-hmm. Whereas just the passenger vehicles, the oil, lubes, and engine maintenance, that's in the commercial districts.
And then is towing considered automotive use too, or like?
Towing is not even listed in our zoning ordinance as an allowed use. Towing specifically, it would probably fall though under an industrial zoning classification, like as a light industrial. Mm-hmm. Or heavy industrial, depending on the specific business and what they're towing, and are they, I guess, are they towing vehicles back to, crash vehicles back to a lot, and then they're storing them kind of like for salvage? That's, the allowance for that would be, they'd have to make the case for that within probably a heavier and more intensive industrial district, and not on the corner lot, down the block type of thing.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Sure.
Wayne?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me start with towing for just a moment. Mm-hmm. That towing operation that occupies city streets, just up the street here on National.
Sure.
How does that exist?
It's been around as a legacy use. It's been around for decades, and it predates our current zoning ordinance. So today, if we had an operation like that wanted to locate, let's just say that site was just a grass lot right now, undeveloped, and they wanted to locate there, the zoning of that property is light industrial, so that we would have to evaluate exactly what they're doing. Are they, if they're going out, they're picking up cars and they're impounding them, or they're bringing back crashed up vehicles at that site. I don't know that it would be allowed. Even in a light industrial district, that might be more of a heavy industrial area, I guess. I don't want to get into specifics, but that would be the case. And they could certainly not be allowed in a commercial zoning district, even if they found, like, say, the property over on 76th and Hicks. That's a grass lot. It's zoned commercial. It wouldn't be a no-go at that location.
Isn't that troublesome property, given that they take up the street and park all their vehicles? And why can't the city do something about that? Because it's legacy?
Well, no, the street, if there's restrictions on the street, that can be enforced. But that's another department that would enforce that. Yeah,
So moving
Sure.
back to the stuff on the screen.
sure.
The proposed Tsunami Car Wash on
Yeah.
Oklahoma, doesn't that abut residential?
It does not. There's a church immediately west.
That's
And then
right.
there's a vacant site north, and there's gas stations in, Oklahoma to the south, yeah.
But abut means it has to literally
Yeah,
touch up against it.
adjacent.
Yeah, yeah. So, in fact, I think the word we use in here is adjacent, when adjacent to a lot. Well, we don't define adjacent, so I take adjacent to mean abut.
So you have a defined
Yeah.
adjacent and abut to mean
Right.
the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Now, certainly, council can take that in consideration and,
Okay,
make that
thank you.
case, but yeah.
Any other questions?
I have one, are there any businesses that now fall under the new criteria that,
Under the, actually, under the existing criteria that we have, which is just the stuff all under the red lines here, there are businesses that are currently, grandfather or legacy uses that have been around for years and years that predate our current ordinance, and that's okay. They can continue to exist.
that's okay?
Even if the council decides to change the language to make it even more restrictive, it won't affect those businesses. It's just that even if they change occupancy from one auto repair shop or one automotive dealer to another, it's not going to affect that use. The problem happens, or the situation that occurs, is when there's a lapse of more than 12 months.
Okay, then it would,
And, one auto repair shop leaves, and then it sits for 13 months, and then somebody else wants to come back and do the same thing that the previous business did, and that's where we would say, no, you can't do that, you have to comply with the ordinance.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure.
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Move on to item 6.
Oops, I hit the wrong button. On computer. This is another ordinance update with respect to massage therapy. Massage therapy is a conditional use in all of our commercial and industrial zoning districts. There have been reasons for that over the years, just given different illegitimate businesses that have taken place, and it was determined that a conditional use at the time was the way to handle it. Back in our previous ordinance, when we made massage therapy conditional use, we didn't have what we now call limited uses. So basically permitted use with some teeth or conditions. So what council typically does when we go through a public hearing for a massage business, it goes through a public hearing process because it's conditional use. And the common conditions of approval are the operation has to be state licensed through the state of Wisconsin. They have to maintain a log of customers that make appointments and come in through the door. And all customers have to enter and exit through kind of like the main public entrance. There's no kind of come and go through the door thing. And then 24/7 video camera surveillance within the common public access areas. And then daytime hours, not open before 7 a.m. or after 10 p.m. Those are just the common criteria for any conditional use. So with limited uses now being an option, what we're suggesting in this ordinance is to change massage therapy from a conditional use to a limited use. It would eliminate the need for a public hearing, but still require the same conditions of approval. It expedites the process a little bit without the need for a public hearing. There could be the argument that, well, if you're not bringing them into a public hearing, they're not going to be visible, and, there's less visibility if you don't come to a public hearing. Nevertheless, though, the same conditions would apply. We'd be working with the applicants, every applicant that applies for business occupancy that goes through our process. We're working with them to determine, do they have these things? We're checking the boxes when they can acknowledge and show us and confirm that they have met these things. If there's some suspicion, we have a police department. We can get background checks. We can have the police department investigate a little further. So I feel there are some safeguards worth looking at here to amend the ordinance from a conditional use to a limited use with these conditions, and that's our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Wayne?
Thank you. Steve, how many massage therapy operations do we have in the city?
I will have to get back to you on that one, Wayne, but there are a number. Yeah.
Is it growing?
It comes in waves, it seemed. We just had one that came through Planning Commission earlier this year. It was a salon suite type of thing where the owner of the building on 115th or 116th, Theo Trecker, bought the building there on the corner, and they're setting it up for 42 different smaller suites for independent contractors to come in and do their business, whether it's massage or it's a esthetician or it's hair and beauty, nails. They said about 10 to 15% of those 42 would be probably massage related. So we took that through a conditional use process, the same conditions applied. And
I think we had one too on the Baby Time store on 106th and Lincoln.
Yeah.
Has several
Yep.
beautician and massage based.
Second.
Oh,
Motion and a second. Giving it to Jessica.
okay. Who was my first motion?
Wayne.
Oh, Wayne, yeah.
So you're just a little slow today, Brian.
I am. I'm a little slow today.
I'll defer to Brian. Put him in the record.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. And then we have project tracking as number 8. If there's
Yeah.
anything to track.
A few things. The Novenesis, formerly known as Chris Hansen, on 9015 Maple, is starting their phase 3. Phase 2 it is. They're starting the construction of that. I think it is phase 3. And we've been working with them quite a bit lately on some construction and how the trucks are coming and going from the site. There's been some one property in particular, nuisance complaint about trucks parking, staging in Mitchell Street, coming and going. But there is definitely a construction plan that they put forth, and we're working with them on that and our neighborhood associations to make sure that that goes smoothly. So we're working to our best on that. They will be then starting that phase of construction very soon. The pad is pretty much ready, and they'll be making those improvements. Aside from that, there's something else that we
I
had.
know, I thought there were a few more slides on this
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah.
We have introduced the potential update for the bike ped plan a couple of weeks back to Common Council. That's garnered support. So yeah, we're in the process as a department of looking at our current bike and ped infrastructure and associated plans and seeing how we can update those plans. It's out of order. Oh, if you want to just, run
Oh,
through.
sure. Here we go.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, this is basically the presentation we gave to Common Council a couple weeks back, but essentially, as part of our 2045 comprehensive plan update, we have noticed some discrepancies between our older plans and some of the newer practices at play for, best practices for bikes, cyclists, and pedestrians. So as part of the 2045 comp plan update, we want to ensure that there are safer streets for all users, especially people walking and biking. And as part of that, the transportation goal associated with that is to transform our streets to prioritize the safety of all users and expand the options for the comfort and enjoyment of the movement of all people. To promote these recommendations, we are looking to update the 2008 plan. And up in the upper left corner, you can see some of the recommendations from the comprehensive plan that we are looking to address throughout our new plan. So why? Oh, if you want to go back to the why.
Sure.
Well, aside from being a fairly old plan, we need to recognize how traffic safety and standards have changed in the last 16 years. We're leagues ahead in many ways and leagues behind in others. But in terms of what we're ahead on, we should really update for the engineering standards. We are also looking to update and coordinate with our very exciting DPW projects. We have projects slated for 2027 and 2030, and we think it's apt and time to coordinate some of those projects with some of the visions and desires of the community. We are also looking to implement things like equity more so into the discussion, so making sure that the implications of these changes are far-reaching throughout the community and don't just seek to benefit, already well-established neighborhoods or well-established bike routes. So yeah, those are just some of. This is a little handout I made, kind of detailing our roadmap. But yeah, it's fairly standard. We are looking to do some public engagement sessions, so if any of you would like to attend, give your thoughts and input, that's always greatly appreciated and valued, of course. But yeah, that's just our general plan. Any thoughts? We are kind of loosey-goosey on the name. We are looking to nail that down, though. We're looking at like a transportation action plan. But we want to keep it more expansive because we have all these exciting things, like Lime just came to town. How do we want to address that in the plans in terms of micro-mobility? And also those design standards too. So if anyone has any initial thoughts, questions, or takes on the matter, I'm happy to hear that out. If not, we'll get to writing, so.
Thanks, Emily. Oh, if anyone's been past Liberty Heights Park, 61st and Orchard, the pavilion there has been demolished, and we'll be building a new pavilion soon, and it'll be complete next summer, so stay tuned. Pan Asia Grocery Store is also in the permit stage, and they'll be working. They should.
2027?
No, hopefully not
Sorry, I
that
didn't say
long.
it out
Hopefully
loud.
not that long.
I've been waiting for that to come out, so that's why.
It'll be
Seriously.
open in 2025.
Oh,
yeah.
thank God. Okay, good.
It's planning to open in 2020.
Planning to open, yes.
I got a question on, speaking of pedestrian safety, the sidewalk there along 72nd and Greenfield there on the west side of 72nd, right by Avant-Garde, has been
Yes.
closed for, God, it's been well over a year.
Yeah.
And I notice every time there's a lot of traffic that comes in and out from Camino and Avant-Garde there. And a lot of times I have to walk out into Greenfield Avenue, and I'm just curious if there's any plans to reopen that up here pretty soon, because especially with
court.
this.
It's in, yeah, the building is structurally unsound, and there's, it's sort of blockaded off so that should something fall off the building, it doesn't hurt someone down below. So I realize, though, that if people walking on the sidewalk have to sort of, walk around, which isn't the best either, but, yeah, it's in a municipal process right now, a court process, and our attorney's office is working on that to hopefully rectify
Yeah,
something, get something fixed on that building.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, it's been closed for, God, well over a year now, I think.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just walked it the other day and I was like, oh, I gotta pop into the road a little bit. Don't mind me.
Yeah, and I'm sort of thinking like, please don't hit me, please don't hit me,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely a concern, but hopefully they can get that cleared up soon.
Okay, thank you.
Just a little heads up, the
My goodness.
November Planning Commission meeting, we're planning on not having a November Planning Commission meeting unless everybody wants to come in, on a, was it Thanksgiving Eve?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to come, you want to have a Planning Commission meeting? You got any deer hunters?
Let's have a Plan Commission holiday party.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
we've always had the dual, right?
probably
November,
push it
December.
back into December, either the first or second week of December. So
Yeah.
maybe just take a look at your calendars, and we'll have something on the agenda next month to maybe formalize it, but, yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Wait,
Mr. Mayor, one of the city plans has a goal of population of 70,000. I forgot what plan that is.
Comprehensive plan, yeah.
Which one?
The 2045 comprehensive
Okay.
plan.
And how are we coming on that?
The REV will be open with 247 new units, and then we got another 19 coming in on 64th and Greenfield, and so there's some things in the process. And then land by label, that could be another 250 apartment units, and at about 2.14 people per household. We figure out the math.
So that gets us up to 60,800.
that house on 119th in Ohio, they have 4 kids, where the people that moved out had 1, so that's a gain of 3.
Yeah. We'll work on it, Wayne. It's-
I bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, we're adjourned.